UVU workload described in 10 minutes. Our workload is determined by the Utah System of Higher Education, or USHE, specifically R485. We are what they call a metropolitan regional university, and we have this requirement. The average teaching load must equal 24 credit hour equivalents each year, or 12 credit hour equivalents each semester. Notice that this is just teaching, not research, scholarships, creative work, service, coordinator roles, etc., etc. This teaching is known as Instructional Credit Hour Equivalent, or ICHE. Now let's check out UVU Policy 641, Salaried Faculty Workload Academic Year. Fall and spring only, not summer. According to this, a faculty member's formally tracked workload shall consist of 30 workload credit hour equivalents, or WICHE, per academic year. Again, fall and spring term only. WICHE is made up of three things. ICHE, Instructional Credit Hour Equivalent, that's the teaching just mentioned. ACHE, which is Academic Credit Hour Equivalent, that's scholarships and research, creative activities, things we commonly call release time. And then there's GICHE, Governance Credit Hour Equivalent. This is provost approval only, but it's things like being a department chair. So in short, ICHE plus ACHE plus GICHE equals WICHE. In most cases, this is accomplished through the following. 4 3-credit lecture classes, which is 12 ICHE of teaching per semester. Remember, this is what USHE requires as our average per faculty per semester at UVU. And 1 3-credit academic endeavor, or 3 ACHE, release time for research and whatnot for each semester. And we do that twice a year. Notice, we do have activities not formally tracked, which are those that establish the faculty member as a good citizen within the department, school, university, community, and discipline. Activities not formally tracked are an integral part of a faculty member's workload, but they don't contribute to the calculation of WICHE. In most cases, this is what we note as service for our rank, tenure, and promotion. While I just mentioned was typical, there are some unique measures for ICHE or teaching that we need to consider per USHE S11. For classes with labs, which usually have more contact hours or face time for faculty per student credit, the ICHE is the credit hour value plus contact hours minus credit hour value divided by 2. So let's try that. I teach a 3-credit class which has 2 hours of lecture and 3 hours of lab. That means for my workload, it is worth 3 plus 5 minus 3 divided by 2, or 4 ICHE. For large classrooms or instructional credit hour classes with 60 or more, we multiply the ICHE for each class by the appropriate following multiplier. 60 to 100 students, 1.2, 101 to 150, 1.4, 151 to 200, 1.6, and 201 or more students is 1.8. For supervised instruction, which is usually internships, ICHE is the attempted student credit hours times the number enrolled divided by 20. So let's try that. I teach a 3-credit internship class with 6 students in it. That means for my workload, it is worth 3 times 6 divided by 20, or 0.9 ICHE. Then UVU makes it a tad more complicated because in most cases, 40% of the work is done by an internship coordinator who's a staff, leaving 60% for faculty. So our ICHE is actually 60% of that USHE calculation, which in this case is 0.9 times 60%, or 0.54 ICHE. Tiny, I know. For individualized instruction, which is usually independent study, senior projects, and capstone papers, the ICHE is the attempted student credit hours times the number enrolled divided by 10. So let's try that. I teach a 3-credit independent study with 6 students in it, and that means for my workload, it is worth 3 times 6 divided by 10, or 1.8 ICHE. And now for an easy one, for regular classes without a lab, so face-to-face instruction, distance education, all other lecture types of courses. They're standard fixed credit classes where contact hours equal credit hours, as in the ICHE or teaching is the credit hour value. So if I teach a 2-credit lecture class, it is worth 2 ICHE. Why again does all this matter? Well, because ICHE or teaching, once again, is part of our WICHE, the workload credit hour equivalent. And that again is made up of 3 things. ICHE, instructional credit hour equivalent, the teaching, ACHE, academic credit hour equivalent, which is scholarship and research, and GICHE, governance credit hour equivalent, which is provost approval only. More on that to follow. Again, ICHE plus ACHE plus GICHE equals WICHE. And as a reminder, we need an average of 12 credits each semester of ICHE teaching per faculty member at UVU. Now let's tackle academic credit hour equivalent, ACHI, academic endeavors which most of us consider our release time. Different from reassigned time, more on that next. Let's start with what's stated in UVU Policy 641. Academic credit hour equivalence, ACHI, is the unit of measure for academic activities as determined by the department, school, and provost. ACHI establishes equivalents for activities including but not limited to scholarship, research, creative activities, program development, and public and community service. But use caution with the words public and community service for ACHI. Remember, the activities not formally tracked are those that establish the faculty member as a good citizen within the department, school, university, community, and discipline I mentioned at the start. If you get ACHI release time for public and community service, it cannot count as your service for your rank, tenure, and promotion, since you were given release time to do it. So that leaves us with activities including but not limited to scholarship, research, creative activities, and program development for ACHI, academic endeavor release time. Notice that this does not say course development. However, in most cases, you can get ACHI if the course has never existed before in any format. If it does exist, though, and you're simply changing the modality, such as from face-to-face to online, you should not be getting ACHI. Instead, that is part of our function as faculty and as teachers, to keep our content up to date, relevant, accurate, and functional for our students, no matter what modality it's in. After all, the content and instruction are the most key for faculty, yes? Not where it's offered. The modality is just a means of offering the instruction. The curriculum is what we teach and how we teach it, and that is part of our ICHI teaching. So what's left? Well, governance credit hour equivalents, GICHI. Circling back to Policy 641, this is a unit of measure for participating in academic and university governance as defined by the provost and in accord with Regents' guidelines. GICHI establishes equivalents for activities including, but not limited to, serving as a program coordinator, department chair, or some Senate officer roles. GICHI also establishes equivalents for committee loads beyond a reasonable level, but remember these can only be given with provost's approval. Meeting our institutional requirements of 24 ICHI teaching per faculty per academic year is complicated slightly because of accreditation requirements for some areas of campus. All of Woodbury School of Business and the Computer Science and Engineering departments each only teach 18 ICHI a year instead of 24, but then have 12 ACHI, release time for academic endeavors. What that means, though, is that other areas need to average more than 24 ICHI teaching per faculty member per academic year in order to make up the difference to meet our USHI requirements. Next, reassigned time. Reassigned time is when a faculty gets more than 3 ACHI typically expected for most faculty. This makes meeting our aforementioned USHI requirement even harder yet. That is why reassigned time is so rarely given, or should be, since others need to pick up the added ICHI. Is that UVU being sticks in the mud? No, it directly relates to meeting our USHI requirements. In closing, one last time, our average teaching load ICHI must equal 24 credit hour equivalents each year, or 12 credits each semester. Why? Because teaching is what we do. That is who we are. And then we do research, scholarship, and creative works too. Now, while it's true that the U of U and USU both have 18 ICHI per academic year, they also have expectations of 12 ACHI output per academic year. On the flip side, SLIC has 30 ICHI per academic year and no release time at all. Other institutions with the same USHI expectations for ICHI that we have are Weber, Dixie, and SUU. For me, what is most relevant is that I love being a faculty member. I love my field of study, and I want to impact students' lives. I want to make a difference, and I want it to be as positive as possible.